And then record. You're not starting the recording until time.
No, I'm going to start recording now as well.
Perfect. Yeah, I can see we just went live on YouTube. I just got a YouTube notification. You took a screenshot of both of us, like doing things.
Yeah, I know.
Should you put the presentation up? Yes, you are in the right place. You are in the right place. This is Property Sourcing Secrets, and this is the 7 secret rules to build a successful property business. So we are not starting yet. We're going to start in about 3 minutes time. So I've just got to remember all the different places that we're at. So we're on Zoom. So if you've got a Zoom link, or on Zoom, and you can chat to us through the chat box in the Zoom app. So just wherever that is, you can send messages, you can chat to us, you can put your hand up and stuff like that. Rajesh mentioned us in the comment. Thank you, Rajesh. So yeah, so you can chat to us in the Zoom. So we're going to start properly the presentation in the next couple of minutes. We're also on YouTube Live, so anybody that's watching from YouTube, you can chat in the YouTube chat function. Say hi, let us know where you're from, let us know what sort of stuff you're into from a property perspective. We're also on Facebook as well. We're live on Facebook right now as well, so you guys can comment, let us know what's happening. Let me just see. Yeah, we can see we're live on Facebook as well. Already got 2 comments. Hey Malachi, hey Mark Sands, hey Rajesh, how you doing? Thank you for engaging. So the quick and easy thing you guys can do here is, like, you can comment, ask any questions that you want about generating deal flow, anything really related to your property journey. Feel free to ask the questions. In addition to that, I always find it so cool because I'm looking at the screen as I'm talking, Malachi. It's dictating what I'm saying, and I'm seeing the words coming up on the thing. It's actually quite impressive. It's actually quite impressive. YouTube, I mean, Facebook's technology is crazy good, so it's actually dictating exactly what I'm saying in real time. All right, so you can message us on Facebook, on Zoom if you're coming by Zoom. Maybe what we should do next time is put the Zoom link in the Facebook description as well, and in the YouTube description. So if people want to come in by different methods, we can do that. This time we'll let it go, but maybe we can do that. Yeah, and yeah, I think we're on top of the hour, 7 o'clock. So we're gonna get started. Let me just take a look and see where we're at. All right, perfect. So again, Facebook, YouTube, Zoom people, here we go. So today what we're going to talk about is the 7 rules to build a successful property business, right? And basically how to grow and scale your business in 2021, and what the key things that you should be, really these rules are questions that you should be asking yourself about your property business. Right? So these secret rules are questions that you need to be asking yourself. So what I'm going to do, and what we're going to do is we're going to go into those questions, and we're going to really look at what they mean. I want you to like don't just be doing other things while we're taking this in. Yeah, like take some time and get a pen and paper, get a device, whatever it is you need to take notes on, because, and I'm going to say this at the beginning of every conversation that we have, right? Like, it's so easy just to sit there and take in information, and you're not how do I put it? You're not actually doing anything with it. Like, you might be driving, you think, oh, that's a really good insight, that was a really good discovery, and you do nothing with that discovery, and that's no good for you. Like, that doesn't actually help you. That doesn't give you any insight on how to take action on that information, right? So the best way to actually utilize information is when when you're getting this information coming in, you hear anything, make sure you take notes of it. And then what we'll do is we'll ask you some additional questions at the end as well around different things that you can, like what actions are you going to take with this information and stuff like that. And we'll set you some things to actually do. And if you come back and like let us know what sort of stuff has been done in relation to that, right? So let's get into this. Before we do start, as you're going through this content and you're enjoying it, make sure you comment, ask any questions that you have. Like, it takes less than a calorie to click on the like button or the heart button. It takes like less than a calorie. Just click on that button. That show us some love. Show us that you're enjoying what it is that we're putting forward. And if you think there's people that you think would benefit from this content, make sure you share it as well. Share it on your profile. Share it on different places that you think are going to get value from this as well. All right. So let's get started. Let's get into this. So we're going to start off with, and this is something that we start off with pretty much all the time when we're talking about rules to building a business, right? Whether that be a property business or any business, or just achieving something, right? You've always got to start by defining your goals from the beginning. And you may hear us say it in different ways, like we might talk about what are your objectives, getting crystal clear on the vision that you want to achieve, but it all boils down to the same thing, right? Like, what are your strategies? Like, what are the strategies that you're going to be implementing within your property business? Yeah. Like, how many hours do you have available to you? And be real with that. Like, if you're working a full-time job and you might say to yourself, you know, I don't even have that much time. Document your day. Work out, like, okay, I get up at 7 o'clock. I've got to get the kids ready, and the kids are in school by 8:30. I'm at work by 9:30. I'm working from 9 till whatever the time is. Yeah. Can I sacrifice my break and put work in that time? Can I have less time watching TV in the evening, for example, and put time in there? Like, look at your day and work out where there is time available. If you do have more availability, look at your time, work out how many hours do you have available to actually build out your property business, right? So understand what strategies you're interested in, but understand how many hours you have. Like, what's your revenue as well? Like, what's your goal from a revenue perspective? How much income do you want to make from your business? Is it just to replace your income? Is it 5K a month? Is it 10K a month? What is it that you're trying to achieve? Yeah, like, what available cash flow do you need as well as a business? Like, and really get a deep understanding of these things, right? Like set goals, set goals and set goals that are like for a year to 18 months out, right? And then also have quarterly goals, yeah, and 6-month goals, right? And then have monthly goals, weekly goals, and daily goals. And make sure that they're all these different goals, they're connected to the bigger things. So your daily goals build into your weekly goals. Your weekly goals build into your monthly goals. Your monthly goals build into your quarterly goals, and so on and so forth, right? It continues out so that you're building out the vision and the dream and exactly what it is that you want to achieve, right? And you've got to ask yourself questions. And this is something, like, I can talk to you about this, yeah, and there's loads of different ways of doing this, but really what you need to sit down and do is just spend time. Like, get a device, put some music on, put whatever gets you in a sort of a zone, yeah, and just start asking questions to yourself about what it is that you want to achieve, how you're going to go about it, how many properties do you need to make that happen. Really dig in and get a really deep understanding about that, right? So we mentioned there, like, what strategies, okay? So which strategies are right for you, okay? So there's a ton of different strategies out there, right? And this is rule number 2, yeah? And it's like, there's a ton of different strategies out there. Like, you could be looking at single family lets, so single family homes. You could be looking at multi-lets. You could be looking at below market value deals, also known as you could look at deal sourcing and lease options. Yeah, you could be looking at serviced accommodations, buy to sell, which is or flips, or commercial to residential. And there are some other ones in there as well, right? Like, so, and the question that you need to be asking yourself when you're looking at the strategies is it ties back into what we just went through. By you defining your goals, and what I should have said as well is that when you're defining your goals, get really real with your current situation. Like, what is your current situation? You've got to be real, raw, about that. You've got to understand like what is the truth about your situation. Like, do you have money to invest? Do you need to raise money? Yeah, like, do you have the knowledge? Like, be really real with your situation. Yeah, because you can't build upon anything if you're coming from a form of delusion, or if you're coming from blatant lies. Like, and if you're lying to yourself, the only person you can hurt is yourself, because you can't build upon lies. You can't build something honest. You've got to be very truthful with yourself, right? And as you look into these strategies, you've got to think about what strategies lends itself to your current situation. So you might be looking at like single family, let's say, and it might be because you're looking at like, oh, you know what, I want to do rent to rent, and I want to do some serviced accommodations, or I want to do I just want to just manage properties, or you might be that you're looking at either yourself investing in the property, or working with an investor, or selling something onto an investor where you sell a single family let property. Is everything correct?
Yeah, everything's fine. Keep going.
Cool. Yeah, where you sell a single let family property to either one of your investors, you sort of do over to your investor or yourself. And it might be something where, and these different strategies, remember, they're not in isolation. So you can combine strategies together, because it might be something that you might get a property, it's a single let property for a single family, and you might be thinking to yourself, you know what, I want to get this property below market value, right? And then I want to rent the property out, and you're getting a rental yield from the property, and then in 6 months' time you want to refinance the property, get the majority of the money out of that property, maybe just leaving like a few grand left in the property, and then just let the property pay for itself through the rental income. Yeah, that might be a strategy that you're looking at. What does it take to achieve that? Can you do that as a JV with someone that has the money, or do you have the money yourself? What's the situation from that? Are you going to sell that opportunity onto somebody else? Understanding like what strategies or what strategy or what strategies you're going to be applying is very important. So make sure you understand these different strategies that are out there. Yeah. Like, again, deal sourcing. If you're just selling on deals, like what types of deals are your investors interested in? Yeah. Are you going to bring like a diverse range of different deals so that you can tap in and get different types of investors? Are you interested in lease options? Like, why are you interested in those things? Ask yourself why. Serviced accommodations. With serviced accommodations, if you do it right, you have do you understand what it takes to actually build a service accommodation business? How much can you make from that? You can obviously make a much higher premium on the short term let aspect of a serviced accommodation, so you can make a lot more money from a property. Do you understand the rules around being able to run a service accommodation? Are you even allowed to run that service accommodation? Do you understand the legals around it? Make sure you're asking yourself these questions, okay? And the key thing is that all these answers are available to you. So as soon as you ask yourself the question, you can go and find the answers. Like you can work with a mentor, you can go through training, you can run searches on Google, whatever it is you need to do, you can find this information, right? So go out, the key thing is that you're asking yourself the right questions. And the first rule is knowing what strategies you should be into. Is it like buy to sell or flips? Like, are you going to take on this property? Maybe you get it below market value, you take on the property, you add value to it, you do a really good refurb into it, or you even add an additional section onto the property and you sell it for more. Yeah. You know how to run the numbers, you know how to make sure that works. Have you considered all the expenses involved in that? Are you doing commercial to residential? Like, do you understand what incentives you can get from the government around that? Also, you've got to be aware of the impact of the type of properties and the things that you're doing with property has on the demographics of has on the actual area. Like, do you care about that? Does it matter to you? If it doesn't, then great. But if it does, you've got to be aware of the impact that what you're doing has. Like, maybe having lots of HMO multi-lets in a particular area might not be something that area wants, or they're fighting against it. And we're gonna do an interesting training either next week or the week after, where we go into the questions you should be asking yourself as before you go into an investment, and also the questions that you should be asking either direct to vendor or or to the agent that you're speaking to when you're looking at an investment property. So that's other areas that we're going to tap into. Okay, so yeah, what strategy is right for you? So make sure you look into that. All right. Rule number 3: what are the costs involved? Eh? What are the costs involved? Like, and why is that important? Like, well, it's important because if you don't understand the costs that are involved in getting yourself set up and running that on a consistent basis, you pretty much are guaranteeing yourself to get burned. You're pretty much going to find yourself in a situation where you're stuck in a contract. Unexpected costs come up that you didn't budget into your numbers, and you could be quickly in the minus very quickly. So you've got to know what's going on from a numbers perspective, like what costs are involved in running this business, right? Like how much money do you need? How much do you need to raise from a capital perspective? Like, what is your budget for expenses? Have you factored in all those different costs? Do you have like an emergency fund for things that can go wrong? What if the boiler goes? What if like you need to get a new washing machine? Do you have insurances that cover those types of things? Like, these are questions that you have to be asking yourself, right? So make sure you're taking notes on these questions. And what I want you guys to be doing is really taking some time, and maybe you go back through this video and you pause it in different sections and stuff like that, yeah. And you take some time to answer these questions for yourself. And if you don't know the answers, is this a business that you're seriously looking at getting into? Do the research. Get on a call with us and ask questions to us and have a conversation with us, right? Like, but dig into this, because if this is baseline questions, if you're not asking these baseline questions to yourself in relation to yourself building out a property business, I've got to tell you that you're in a scenario where you're likely going to fail, or you're likely not going to get the results that you want out of it, right? Like, so how much actual revenue do you need to generate from what it is you're spending? Like, what is the supply and demand? Like, what taxes do you need to pay? Like, how much do you have for a budget? It's not on here, but how much do you have for a budget to generate deal flow on a consistent basis? Think about that. Think about how important that is. How much do you have as a budget to generate deal flow on a consistent basis? Ask yourself that question, because without deal flow, what are you going to do? Like, all of this becomes irrelevant. So like, just how much do you have as a budget to do that? All right. And talking about deal flows and the different ways to actually generate deal flow, yeah, let's look into this. Yeah. So when it comes to building out a property business and what the different things in relation to that, right? Like, there's lots of different things that you can do to generate results. There's lots of different things that you can do to generate results, right? But the thing about it is that what you've got to try to work out is, what out of these different things that I can do, what is going to yield me the best result and getting me the best types of people to work with. So let's look at the different ways that there are to generate deal flow. Yeah, and you got to ask yourself these questions. Like, these are the ones that I've come up with, but you might have some different ones, right? But leaflet drops, yeah, like, that's a well-known one. Like, putting out leaflets, to posting it through people's door, letting them know the different things that you offer as a property manager or somebody that can buy somebody's property, right? That is something that you can do. Now, let's look at the pros and cons of that, right? So the pros of that is that relatively, like, if you print up the flyers yourself, yeah, it could be relatively inexpensive. Like, you still, even if you're paying for the flyers, just paying for the flyers, costing you a couple £100, and then you can either go out yourself, or you can have somebody else do it for you. So depending on how you go about it, yeah, it could be classed as quite low cost, but it could also get a little quite expensive if you're doing it more of a systemized way, right? The problem that I see with it is that typically, if you're posting letters through people's doors, the actual owner of that property doesn't necessarily live in that property if it's a tenanted property. So the tenant doesn't want somebody else buying the property, because obviously that means that they might get kicked out, or they might get served notice and stuff like that. Yeah. So anytime they see anything like that, Malachi's done an email on this before, yeah. Anytime they see anything like that, they'll just put that in the bin, yeah. Obviously, you've got the HMR register, which you can obviously send out to. Again, you're interrupting. This is what you class as interruption marketing. You're putting stuff out to people. And yes, maybe if you go out to thousands of people, a few of those people might be interested in giving you an initial call back. But what I typically hear from people that I work with is that when they do that, they might get a few calls back. But so let's say they got 5 calls back from sending out thousands, right? Like 3 of those people are telling them, can you stop sending me messages? Yeah, can you stop sending me these leaflets? Yeah, I don't want this crap from my door. And 2 of them might have some sort of interest, but then once you go into what it is you're doing, they're not interested, right? And maybe you might have one that is interested, and then you obviously have to go through that process. Now, is that the best use of your time? You've got to make that decision, right? But most people that are trying that stuff, I find that it's not giving them the ability to be able to scale massively. Like, and if your goal is to generate replace your income, generate 5-10K on a monthly basis, getting a few properties under your control over a year isn't that's not going to get you what you need, right? So you're going to need to have a way of being able to consistently turn on a tap and generate leads, like property sites. Again, you're going on property sites, and that taps straight into the second one as well. You go on property sites, and most of the properties on a property site are owned by estate agents. And what incentive does an estate agent have to pass deals on to you? Unless you've got credibility with them already, and you've got access to funding that you can actually take action on stuff straight away. But most of the times you haven't. So somebody brand new, to be honest, you're probably not going to get the response that you want if you're just starting out, right? And even if you're able to get your way in, if you're not able to take action and actually do something that actually gets you significant, like actually makes you actually take action, and that estate agent's like, oh, this person's making me money because they're buying into properties, they will soon stop responding to you, yeah, because they have no incentive to want to work with you, yeah. So just be aware of that. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some good deals that can be done for estate agents because they have that. But what we're about from a lead generation and a deal flow generation perspective is helping you get the same deals that the estate agents get. In fact, getting contacted before those estate agents and they're coming to you. You're getting off-market deals, people reaching out to you before that's even gone to estate agents, or in the same phone call run that landlord or that seller is phoning a number of different companies, and you're one of those companies that they're calling. You want to be in that mix. You want to be early in the process from that sort of place, but you also want to be in a place when they're doing some initial research and they're catching them before they get to the big estate agent brands and stuff like that. You can go on social media, like Facebook has like a local place now. You've got things like Gumtree and stuff like that, right? But again, a lot of very hard grunt work, yeah, for very low returns. Word of mouth, you're stuck with waiting on somebody to give you word of mouth. And if you're just starting out, you're not going to get no word of mouth from anywhere because you're just starting out. And then there's what we call property deal flow engine there, which is basically going direct to vendor, and it's having a systematic way to tap into and put your message in front of people that are already searching for you. Listen to the difference between all the rest of them. The rest of them, you're trying to interrupt somebody that may not have an interest in, and if by luck, a few people might have some interest, yeah, in what it is you're doing. And you're not the only person that's doing that, right? But if you're specializing in property, if you're using a property deal flow engine to grow your deal flow, what you're doing is you're putting your unique message and the curiosity hooks around your message in front of people that are searching for what it is that you offer. They see that, they then click, and then they see more information about you, and they're sold into what it is that you do and what your brand is about, yeah? And they're calling or they're leaving details for your company. That makes them very motivated. And that's what's the difference between a motivated seller and a motivated landlord to someone that is, you're sort of dragging and pulling them to become somebody that you work with, right? So just think about the different ways that you want to approach that, and think about which one is the best for you. Now, yeah, so so that's for you to sort of make that decision, all right? So rule number 5, yeah, knowing how to market your property, yeah. So let's just get into this. So if you're selling it, if you're getting the property managed, like if you're selling it, like sorry, if you're getting the property, if you're managing the property, like where are you going to find the tenants? Yeah, like are you going to place ads online? If you're selling the property, are you going to place ads online? Are you going to place ads? You're going to put yourself on the big websites like Rightmove, Zoopla. Have you got 2K a month to spend on each of those websites and stuff like that? Or you're going to use like an estate agent or a letting agent. How are you going to lay out that property so that it looks good and tenants want to pay premiums and pay really good money to be in that property? Have you thought about those things? Ask yourself questions around how you're going to get that property tenanted or sold, or how you're going to sell it on to, how you're going to present the deal and the offer to your investors and stuff like that, right? These are questions that you have to be asking yourself. So make sure you're taking notes on these questions and starting to think, what am I going to do in relation to that? Because what you got to think about here, yeah, is everything I'm going through here, these are all the ingredients, right? Now, the answers, like you've got to think about them. You've got to ask, because it's going to be unique to you, depending on the way that you want to build your business. So you've got to think about what are the correct answers for me to build my business, right? Rule number 6, yeah, is knowing how to manage, knowing how and who is going to manage the property. So are you going to be the landlord and you're going to be the person that's managing the property? Now, some people will say to you, no, never do that, get the property managed by other people, right? Like, and it's all good and well to say that. Like I could even put in a rule if I wanted to here and say, rule, make sure that you're outsourcing the management of your properties and stuff like that, right? And in some cases, that's going to make sense, right? So if you've got a property that you've bought below market value, and now you have that property on the market, so you have that property and you're renting that property out, to take, say, 8 to 10%, even 12% out of the rental income of that property and have another company manage it, it takes a lot of stress and off of your hands, right? It takes a lot of hassle off of your hands. So that's something that you can do. But now, in another scenario, if you're doing a rent-to-rent scenario and you're guaranteeing the rent, you're offering the landlord a certain amount of money, and there's a certain amount of margin left for you. And then what you're going to take another 10 to 12% out of that margin to give to a management company. And then what are you left with? And does it even make it worthwhile for you to what is you're left with? And then do you still have money to cover any maintenance issues, any small things that come up that need to be sorted? So in most cases, it doesn't stack like that. So if you are doing like a rent-to-rent type of scenario, in some cases, not all of them, some of them there is enough room to be able to do that, but in most cases there isn't. In some cases, you're going to be managing that property yourself. And if so, like, what are the costs that are going to be around that to do that? Yeah. But if you are going to be using a management company, how much are they costing you? Like, as I said, it can range from anything from 8% to 12%. Like, yes, you might have to get lower. Yes, there might be some that are higher, like there's some specialist HMO companies that charge 15%. Like, it really depends on what it is that you're looking for and how much money there is in the deal for you, right? But I think it's important for me to talk about it to look at another rule, yeah, around managing the tenants. Because yes, you could have the property managed by other people, yeah, but if you're not doing that, which in some cases when you're starting out, you may not be able to, here's some questions that you should be asking yourself around knowing how to manage the tenants, right? So the first thing is like, what will you require upon moving? Like, and so what are we looking at? Like, what sort of security deposit is required? How are you selecting the right tenants? Like, are you doing reference checks? Are you running credit checks yourself? What companies do you use to actually do that? Do you have all the proper legal forms Do you know what all the proper legal forms are? Yeah. So where are you going to research to find out that stuff? Yeah. Is your account set up correctly? Are you using the right deposit scheme types of deposit schemes to actually hold your tenants' deposits in? And you're not just holding it yourself. So are you set up in the right way, right? Do you understand your tenants' rights? Yeah, because if you don't understand your tenants' rights, then if you have a problematic tenant and it comes to evicting that tenant, you're going to have problems. Yeah. So I just got a message come through there. It's confused me. Yeah. So if you've got problematic tenants and you're going to be evicting that tenant, then you need to understand how do you actually evict that. What sections do you need to do you need to apply to the court to actually you have to submit a section 21? What is it that you need to do? What companies are you going to potentially have to use to help you do that? Like, even down to things like, do you accept pets in the property or not? Right? It's just really understanding that, asking yourself those questions. Yeah. So this is the bonus round, and we're just going to do a few more bonus ones. So maintaining an exit strategy. Yeah. So I'll just quickly run through these. Yeah. So will you hire a contractor to perform repairs? Like if you're managing this is all about if you're managing it yourself. And I think it's important to ask questions around this, because typically if you're starting out, you want to maximize on the profits that you can make, right? So you'll start off like that until you've built up a bit of a portfolio. So what contractors are you going to use? Are you going to do some of the repairs yourself? Are you handy yourself? Who's going to take care of the outside maintenance, mowing the lawn? Is that something that is in the agreement that the tenant takes care of? Do you even know how to put that in? Have you developed an exit strategy? Yeah, like, do you have more than one exit strategy? And when I say exit strategy, what do I mean when I say exit strategy? So let's say you start off and you set up a property as a serviced accommodation, and you've got these plans of like, okay, from this property, I'm going to be charging £100 a day on this property. I expect it to be rented out 80% occupancy on a monthly basis, and I'm going to be making, let's say you're making like £4,000 a month from this particular property here, where the rentals in the area is only like 1,500, but you're making £4,000 a month. You've got a great margin from that property. So you've done all your numbers and it all works out, and you're like, yeah, this is excellent. And then something happens within that area, and when you go to market that, you're not getting the tenants. What do you just see that, put your hands up and say, oh, I don't know what to do? Or do you have other strategies? Could you then flip that into a single net and be able to cover your monthly expenses, pay the landlord, and carry on with that property? You've got to think about what are the other ways that you're gonna, if your initial plan doesn't work for whatever reason, are there other exit strategies that you can use? Could you get that property sold? Could you pass it on to somebody else that has experience to manage that particular property? What is the scenario? And you got to start thinking. You got to have those sort of questions in your head. Because if you don't, and you get caught out without sort of having thought about these things, you're going to get yourself in trouble, right? And all of this, absolutely all of this, is dependent on your ability to generate deal flow. So let me explain what I mean by that. So I've talked about loads of different questions that you should be asking yourself, these different rules, that you should be thinking about to build yourself up in the property business. But you're not going to be able to apply any of these rules if you don't have, on a daily basis, people calling you to say, hey, can you manage my property? Hey, can you guarantee my rent? Hey, I need to get my property sold. What can you get me for it? Every day you need to have that happening. You need to have people reaching out to you and wanting to get their properties over to you, right? And if you don't have that happening, then everything that we've talked about, it'd be great to have all that information, but there's not much you can actually do with it, and it becomes redundant very quickly because there's not much you can do with it. Yeah. So your ability to generate deal flow is key. So you've got to think about, and the questions that you need to be asking yourself around deal flow is how am I generating deals on a consistent basis? Yeah. Are the ways that I'm generating deals, are they allowing me to scale to be able to hit my goals? Is it going to allow me to replace my income? Is it going to allow me to generate 5K, 10K, 15K on a monthly basis? Is it possible for me to do that with the deal flow strategy that I'm using at the moment? Yeah. Or are there other ways? How do I tap into thousands of people that are searching to have their property sold? Thousands of people that are searching to get their properties managed or looking for a rent guarantee. How do I tap into those people, right? And you've got to ask yourself these questions. And if you haven't got a solid strategy to do this type of stuff, one of the things that you need to do, yeah, and we'll put a link in the Facebook group, we'll put a link in the YouTube, on the YouTube video, and I think we'll put a link in the Zoom as well, is book a call, have a conversation with us. We're actually going to do some more interesting things as well over the next few weeks of different ways that you can invest in what we're currently doing. So like there's some things that we're doing to consistently generate deal flow, right? And you can get a piece of the pie, but we're still structuring how that's gonna look. Like we've been going through some of it today. We'll be going through that, but like get on a call, have a chat with us. But before getting on that call with us, spend some time. Like go back on this video and actually go through it, answer these questions, get really clear on what it is that you want to achieve, the way that you want to approach your business. And when we have a conversation, we're not wasting time talking about the basics. Yeah, we're talking about how do we get this started within, how do we get you started and get you moving forward. Yeah, so there should be some links that are getting posted around, and you'll be able to get access to them. If they're not there yet, they'll be there in the next sort of hour or so, long as I'm talking about on the different social media platforms that we're on. So yeah, you'll get them from there.
The link should be there.
The link's there already. All right, then perfect. So yeah, get on that. And before you go, guys, as I said to you, if you're taking notes, if you're taking notes and you're thinking about like what is it that you got from this today, like I want you to ask yourself, like, what did I learn from this? Like, what things was I missing before? Why is that important? It's really key. Don't just listen to me say this stuff, yeah, and think, oh yeah, that's a good idea, and do nothing about it. Like, what did I learn? What discovery did I get? Why is that discovery important? Yeah. And what actions am I going to take on that? Yeah. What actions am I going to take on that? And I want you to post some of your ideas, what you learned from it in like on the Facebook, on the YouTube. Yeah. What actions you're going to take. Like, if you've got this far into the video, I want you to actually take action and do that. I want you to engage and share some of the things you're doing, because you'll see other people doing those things. And as you see other people sharing that, yeah, somebody else that has the courage to share what their goals are, what actions they need to take and stuff like that, yeah, that's somebody that you could potentially partner with, somebody that you can potentially have as an accountability buddy. Start looking at people that could potentially become accountability buddies. And this is something that we're going to be pushing forward, yeah, is you getting connected with other people in the group, yeah, and on a weekly basis, you're holding yourself accountable to things that you have to do to move your property business forward, all right? And again, if you want to have a chat with us, you want to ask some questions, you want to go through how do you implement what it is that we do on a daily basis, feel free to book a call with us. Again, don't just come on the call just to like make sure you come prepared. Like, go through this and answer these questions. Yeah, like think about this and make sure you understand where you're at within your business. Yeah, and make sure you just come prepared. Come prepared to have a proper business conversation about how we help you get to that position.
I mean, we had a question from Rajesh, and to be fair, we've kind of covered it. But if you could just touch on it a little bit, Mark, it would be most appreciated. So his question was, how do I find the motivated sellers?
How do I find the motivated sellers? All right. So first of all, you've got so I'm going to go through this really quick. So, but there's a lot more to this, and we go through this in detail over a number of weeks in one of our more in-depth trainings. But the key thing is that when you're looking at finding motivated sellers here. What you've got to do is you've got to think to yourself, you've got to ask questions around who is that person and what's going on for them and what makes them motivated. Yeah. So what makes them motivated? What's their situation? Is it that they're in a divorce scenario and they just need to get the property sold? Is it that it's something to do with inheritance? Is it so you got to list out what is making them motivated? That's the first question you ask them. What is making them motivated? Is it that they've had a problematic tenant and they've lost money from a tenant and then now they're a motivated landlord and they just want to get their property managed and they want the rent guaranteed? Yeah. What makes them motivated? Now, once you're understanding what it is that makes them motivated, and it's a number of different things, like I've gone through a number of them yet, but I'm not going to go through every single one here, but there's a certain level of analysis that's required for you to really look into and work out what makes that person motivated, right? And then what you want to do is you need to create messaging that speaks into the pains and the frustrations and the trigger points of that person's pain and frustration, right? So if it's that, let's say somebody's had a problematic tenant, yeah? If you speak into that and you speak into it in a sense that you truly understand what their problem is, how you can solve it, how you can stop that ever happening to them, it's going to be relatable to them. So now you've tapped into someone that is in that scenario, right? And now that you've tapped into them and they've seen your message, then they're going to be like, oh, I'm interested in this company because they seem to understand what my problem is. You know, like if you've got like a pain in your knee, for example, yeah, and you're telling, like, I'm telling Malachi, I'm like, Malachi, yeah, it's pain, it's like a shooting pain in my knee, and there's just some random person that just hits here and he goes, oh, is that like a shooting pain? It starts off in your toe and it goes up to your knee, but then it's like it feels like it just circles around the knee and it starts to throb. If that person truly understands what's going on with your pain, you'll be like, yeah, how did you know? Yeah, I've had that. And they start to tell you what their solution is to that. Like, oh yeah, I had that. What that is that's like a trapped nerve. So what you need to do is you need to start doing these stretches. You need to do some stuff you need to take some anti-inflammatory stuff. I'm not completely different topic, but the idea around that, yeah, is that person, all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, I'm interested in what you're saying. You understand my problem, yeah. I'm now a motivated person that will listen to them. And now if that person sells the solution to what it is that I want, because I know they understand my problem, I will buy that because I want to solve that problem. So if you truly understand somebody's problem, that is how you find a motivated person. You've got to understand what their motivations are. And their motivations are built around their pains and their frustrations that they're having with their marketplace, which makes them motivated to want to get them solved. Does that answer your question?
That was good. That's exactly what you needed.
All right, perfect. All right, excellent. So again, if you guys have got questions, like, don't think you just have to answer them on the lives. You can put them in on the comments. We've got people in the team that are monitoring comments on Facebook, on YouTube, and stuff like that. You can email us, you can book calls, and we will answer them through that as well. All right. Perfect. As I said, that was a short little blast of content for you guys. The key thing again is work out, ask yourself, what did I get from this content? What action am I going to take on it? Why was it important? What action am I going to take on it? Like, that is the key thing. What action am I going to take on it? Yeah. All right, then. Well, you guys take care, and I will speak to you next week.
Bye for now.
See you later.